Come on down, gather round, let's cook it right. With Lisa by our side, we'll shine so bright. You're healthy for kids, a fresh new start. Learning to nourish our bodies and our hearts. From the garden greens to grains so fine, Lisa shows us how to make flavors intertwine. We're chopping and slicing, feeling so alive, embracing healthy eating. Every day we thrive.
Hello, friends and family, and the wonderful community of Simsbury television. We are coming to you live, not from Simsbury today. We are here from Canton with my very good friend, Teresa Dodson, who is also a registered dietitian and the mom of Brooke Dodson, who was in our last episode. She was one of the cute kitty ears. And we made pasta and the mac and cheese together. So, Teresa, what are we making today?
So today we are going to have the fall theme and we are going to do stuffed acorn squash.
That sounds delish.
Well, the nice thing is once you have all the dirty dishes done, you serve it and there's no more dirty dishes.
That's wonderful. I love meals like that. I love it, love it, love it. So what's our first step?
So the first thing is tackling the squash, which I would have to say is probably the hardest part. So I highly recommend a really good knife. This is a very heavy, I call it my hatchet knife, and firmly hold on to the squash so that you can saw through it. Use a serrated edge, saw it in half, and then
I'm taking a better look at this. This is quite the knife.
yeah, it's very heavy.
Yeah. Oh, what do you think that means? And what else could I use this for?
I use it for anything that's really hard to cut. You can actually cut through frozen. Like if you didn't take your meat out soon enough and you needed to cut off a piece of it, or if you have a frozen lasagna and you only want to use half of it.
It's a Cutco knife. So I love my Cutco knives.
Yeah.
Sorry, little plug right there.
No, knives are awesome. And just so you know that not only pumpkins are actually a squash. So all squashes and all seeds are edible. And I have a niece who I roast all of my seeds and I give them to her. And
Does she eat them?
yes, she's like Auntie Teresa's, and her input is spaghetti squash seeds are the best.
Really?
Yes. Because you can see like the acorn squash seeds are much smaller if you've recently done a pumpkin. These are much smaller. So when you roast them, they're not as hard as a pumpkin seed.
So I have a question.
Sure.
So for many, many years, my seeds and I don't get along. We have an issue getting all this gunk off the seed. What's your big secret?
So what I do is I put them in a little strainer here.
Oh.
And I strain off some of the gunk. And then I just squeeze them through my hands. But honestly, there's nutritional value to the gunk.
Oh,
so
the pulpy stuff.
Yeah, and I think it actually adds a good flavor to them. So other than the if you could, I mean, this is my technique. I'll show you. So you just squeeze them and they come out in your hand. And then all the gunk stays like in a big clump.
Oh, okay. So it's kind of like you're popping grapes off of the vine.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
So, and then you can season them with whatever. Like if you're more of a sweet person, sometimes I do pumpkin pie spice on them.
Ooh.
Instead of just salting them. So just squeeze them and it will get the straininess off of it. So
have you seen at like vendor fairs and craft shows lately, like all these more like just smaller companies that organic companies that are making these seasoned blends that are like maple smoky, etc.
Oh.
That would be great on
Yeah.
something like this.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna wash the gunk off my hands.
Excellent technique. Excellent technique.
And we did wash our hands
We
before
did wash.
beginning.
Yes.
And the squash, I recommend putting in the oven face down with a little bit of water on it for about 30 minutes, and that will just tenderize the squash. So when you stuff it, it will continue to cook.
So here's, once you get that in there, I have more questions.
Sure.
So if you don't like acorn squash,
Yep.
what other types of things could you possibly use as your shell?
Well, the reason I choose the acorn squash is because it has the biggest opening. So if you use if you use a butternut squash, it only has that very tiny end to it.
Right.
So it's really hard to stuff it.
Oh,
I mean, you could, I guess, theoretically scoop out a lot of the squash and mix it in
Yeah.
with the stuffing. But the acorn really is the one that has the biggest hole.
Okay.
For lack of, I don't know if there's a proper term. I was going to say the biggest.
Let's not
wait,
go
wait.
there today.
Okay, let's say the biggest cavity to stuff.
Not a turkey. So that's coming up. So
So while our squash is cooking, we're gonna cut up some onion, celery, and some mushrooms, and I'm using the chopper here.
is there anything I can do to help while you're chewing?
I'm gonna let you chop. I know.
I have explained to my audience in the past that my knife skills are not the best, and
Well,
hence being dietitian.
I am gonna give you a helper. You don't even have to use the knife. So once, yeah.
What's
And-
your secret?
And let me just tell you, this is why I'm a dietitian and not a chef, because my knife skills are not. I believe in a really good knife, but they're not as great as they should be. So today we're going to use this chopper.
A hand chopper.
Yay! And you can, I mean, this is a fancy one, but you can get these probably at Walmart or whatever for, I think, probably $5 or $10. So I just cut the onion in half like this.
Yum.
And you could just put it under the dome like this.
That's it.
And you get out all of your craziness. Keep going.
Oh, more?
Yes.
Oh, this is amazing. Wow,
Right?
that is amazing. I really want to get one of these for my teenager. I think this is, I think every teenager should have this.
And, you know, when you're in chef school or whatever, they always talk about uniform cuts. So, you know, this is
That's
a way to have that
beautiful.
uniform cut. And here is my pro tip.
Pro tip.
Start with your smelliest ingredient. So I always
do that.
I always start with onions, and then I will proceed to use the other ingredients on the chopper. So I'm just going to start the
how
burner.
you keep your oil in a little squirt bottle.
Yeah. Well, it's like, have you ever poured from a big bottle and had
Yeah.
a gallon of oil in your
Mhm.
So
I hate the glumpity glumpity.
Yeah.
guys, don't you?
So this helps to just you know, make sure that you don't over pour into your
Oh, that
frying pan.
onion strong.
Yes, it is.
It
is.
Totally tearing.
And that's such a good point, Lisa. So I am going to say
Oh no! What did I bring on?
that if you are not a fan of a strong onion, right, or a white onion, you could use a colored onion. You could use shallots, which are a little bit milder in flavor than a white onion.
Ooh, girlfriend, we gotta
Or-
cut this soon.
Yeah, throw the
Or,
onions.
or you can also use green onions, which I think, I don't know, I'll defer to your expertise, Lisa, on this. I believe that green onions, the top part, are FODMAP friendly.
Yes, I
So,
believe so.
so if you have someone that really is, you know, isn't a fan of onions
Or
or
has a
raw
sensitive-
onions or has
Right,
a
sensitive
sensitivity, the
The green onion,
the green onions are an alternative.
like these.
So, yes, and I'm gonna actually just add those in at the end. So these are what they look like chopped. I already pre-chopped those. So the next thing we're gonna chop is the celery. So the onions are just gonna start to cook, and as Brooke, since she's, you know, Brooke from the previous episodes, Brooke used to call this happy onions. So I'm going to start with a little oil in the pan and saute them. And when they start to brown, we will add a little bit of what do we add? Wine! Yay! Onions! And when you put and I'll show you once they start to brown, when you put the wine in the pan, they jump around and thus happy onions.
Oh, I thought they were just happy for the wine.
And my advice on the wine is use whatever wine that you would drink. Do not get cooking wine from the grocery store. It's mostly salty water.
And
do you know why they do that?
Because it's gross.
No, they put the salt in it so that people won't buy it and drink it. So my rule for cooking wine is
they don't proof you.
Right.
Oh.
Right. So to keep people that shouldn't be drinking wine from drinking it, they add a ton of salt. Okay. So this is just my rule for cooking wine is one with the screw top because it's really annoying to have to take a cork in and out every time. So that's so whatever one you would cook with. So we're just gonna wait till they start to. If you want to chop the celery, because that's going in next. Of course you can. Of course you can.
I'm gonna add this to my holiday list.
You should definitely have a family. Yeah.
Maybe they'll watch the video and get the hint.
I don't know if they ever watch my videos.
Oh, I'm sure they do. Well, they get to see you live and in person
I know.
cooking.
I
So
annoy
why
them
do
all
they
the time anyway.
Why
Why
do
would
they
they watch me?
the video, right? Right?
They're like, we get enough of you, Mom.
Right? But this is a good way to get out. Yeah, and you can dice it as fine as you want.
Wow, that came out beautiful.
Right.
I'm gonna do this side a little bit better.
So the nice thing is when you're doing something like celery, if you're people that are not a celery fan, dice it really small, right? Okay.
Right here, not a celery fan. It's not as, I don't know. Is it the right burner?
Yeah.
It's not being happy onions. It's not, we can edit this part out. Sorry.
No, you're good.
Oh, no, now it's
Okay,
good.
now
It's going.
it must have not been sitting on the pan right. I don't know.
Is it on 9-inch or 12-inch?
It's
can't-
on. It's on 9.
Okay.
Right?
I would
Is it
use
an
12.
induction cooktop?
Yeah. I don't know. They didn't.
It's on. Yeah, it's
It's on. I see red.
To hurry it along there for a minute. Okay.
Now what?
So the next thing for the chopper is mushrooms. Shrooms. And let me just dump the celery in there actually before you start to chop them. So the nice thing about mushrooms is you should always invite the mushrooms to the party. And you know why?
Fun guy.
The fun guy. That's right.
This is why we're friends. And we've been friends for a long time,
Right?
too.
Right?
Still finish your jokes.
So, and the advantage to using the chopper with the mushrooms is be very aggressive when you chop.
Ta-da!
Keep going.
Oh, with the same shrew?
Yep. Keep going. Yeah. Once you get them to this fine chop, it almost has the consistency of ground meat.
Oh.
So if you're looking to do a plant-based recipe and you want that consistency of ground meat, you can substitute mushrooms. And you know the other fun fact about mushrooms?
What?
They're one of the only natural sources of vitamin D.
I know that.
And do you know why?
Because they grow in the sun?
The opposite.
They grow in the
They
dark.
grow in the dark, so they literally have to make their own sunshine. Like we think about vitamin D as the sunshine vitamin, and that's why they're a natural source of vitamin D. So they're a great way to add texture if you are trying to stick with a plant-based diet or more plants than animals. They give you that consistency of ground meat. That is really,
think I've got to get one of these choppers.
Seriously.
I'll send Abby the link.
Right? Oh, this is so nice. Right? So now we have some sizzle going here in the pan. I don't know. It's been on delay. Want to add that? Yep. Oh. Your oven's loud.
Mm-hmm.
It's a convection oven.
Yeah,
So the
you, but it's not mine. I maybe I'm just used to mine. Sounds like an airplane.
You think that's loud compared to your
Oh,
to your
not
chopping?
at all. This is quiet compared to the oven is so loud. Where's that 747 coming in?
Okay, so I'm not going to criticize her chopping ability, but I am going to pick out these big pieces of onion because someone might get that and say, "Oh, I don't like that."
That doesn't. Hey, in my house, in my rules, and my recipes, it all goes.
Awesome. Okay, so
Ta-da!
we're done with the vegetable part, and that's going to cook down.
Awesome.
And now we're going to move on. When we think about stuffing, right? We think about bread. Bread is usually the basis of the stuffing. So we're going to change our cutting board from vegetables to the bread one,
Bread cutting board.
right? Because why do we need to have a separate bread cutting board, Lisa? My allergy person.
Cross contact.
Yeah.
You don't want to introduce your gluten if you have gluten sensitivities.
Correct. So, I don't know about your house, but at my house, no one eats the crust. So I save
I
the
do.
crusts of the bread, and I either make them into stuffing or I make them into croutons or breadcrumbs. I know Brooke is a big fan of the homemade breadcrumbs because,
They're good.
well, not only that, but it's whole wheat bread, so you can't usually find whole wheat breadcrumbs.
No.
And you can add the seasoning you want to it.
Right.
Because the first ingredient on seasoned breadcrumbs is salt. Right? So bread I usually use a serrated knife, and I just cut this. I'm going to throw this into that orange bowl right there, Lisa.
Yes, ma'am.
Again, depending on your, consistency, sometimes I just use my hands and do this and break it up.
I can help.
If you have children that are helping you at home, this
Like
is
me.
this is a good job for them to, don't give them the knife, but they can crumble up the breadcrumbs.
And they can do the chopper.
And they can do the chopper. You probably have to have someone a little bit older just because.
See, when you think of children, you think of
Aggressive.
your grandson.
yeah.
I think of my teenage
Yes.
daughters. That
It would be an amazing tool for teenagers who may have a little aggression that they need to release.
take it out.
Right?
Absolutely.
So, and the reason for the adding the bread is because most of the time when you buy the packaged stuffing mix, it is very high in sodium or added salt and not so great in terms of nutrition because it's made with white bread. So we're going to go half and half. We're going to use half of the whole grain bread, and then we're going to actually just use the stuffing mix from here. And it all depends. I'm not a very
We like our shortcuts.
I'm not a very big fan of salt. So I like to make things a little less salty. So when you add the bread to the prepared stuffing mix,
It definitely decreases the sodium.
yeah. So we're gonna add that in there. Right? Okay.
I love the that smell of the sage. And that.
Yeah.
But I don't like sage in anything else.
And
Is that weird?
yes. And let me just say, the smell is one of the sad things about being on camera because you can't smell as we're cooking. You can only see it. But having fresh herbs. Like this is my sage plant. I also have a rosemary plant. And adding the fresh herbs to it really makes a difference.
Makes that flavor pop.
This is the parsley that I'm going to give you another fun job. Have you ever used an herb stripper?
No.
Okay, so you just put the herb in there like this, right? And pull it through, and it pops off the top. Yeah. They're a little short, but I rescued them because I was afraid that it was the end of the drawing season.
My dogs have found the garden, my vegetable garden, and ergo I cannot use my remaining herbs because they've been sprinkled on.
Oh. Okay, so if you can see in the pan, it starts to turn brown, like the onions are starting to caramelize, and that's the point where you add the wine and make them happy. Woohoo! They dance around in the pan.
They are dancing.
The great thing about using wine is it adds flavor, but it doesn't add fat, and it's a way to deglaze the pan.
And with enough heat, the alcohol cooks off.
Correct.
So you don't have to worry about getting drunk or anybody getting inebriated is my fancy word.
Yes.
For
it's safe for children. Safe for children. So it's and you can smell how delicious it smells. So
no, you can't. Sorry.
Are you having fun with the herb stripper?
Maybe a little too much. But is that enough, my friend?
Yeah. Well, I have some that I chopped up here ahead of time too. So we'll add that in at the end based on what we decide. So we're gonna take these sautéed onions and celery, and we are going to add that to the stuffing mix. And then I'm going to give you a big spoon to stir.
Not a big spoon.
A big spoon. They're right here.
Awesome.
There you go.
Thanks.
And then we decided, since it is the week of Thanksgiving, there's a couple of different options for this recipe. So for the protein part of it, you can use ground turkey, which I'm going to cook up some of that. You could also use sausage, and this happens to be a chicken sausage. However, Lisa, because she reads the labels so carefully, found that even though it's a chicken sausage,
and you think it's super healthy,
it's in natural pork casing.
Dum, dum, dum.
So it's fully cooked and gluten-free. However, it's not kosher.
It's not kosher, which doesn't mean it's not healthy.
Right.
It just means certain people do not eat pork,
Right.
cannot eat sausage.
So it's about half the fat and calories versus a regular sausage. If you want to stick with plant-based, you can get a plant-based sausage like these Morningstar sausage links, which are, again, about half. So the chicken sausage is about half the calories of a pork sausage, and the plant-based sausage is about half the calories in fat of the chicken one. But for today, we're going to stuff our squash with ground turkey. So we're going to cook some of the ground turkey.
Now, what precautions do you take normally when cooking ground meat? What do I mean?
Yeah.
Ooh, I see.
I try not to touch the raw meat.
Right.
So I would wash my hands before, I'd wash my hands
And
afterwards.
we cook the vegetable before the meat.
Right? And yes. So always cook the meat last so that you're not cross-contaminating.
Mm-hmm.
If I wasn't putting this all in the stuffing, I would choose a different spatula. But since we're mixing it all together, we're gonna
Right, it's all one bowl. Like Teresa said at the beginning, once we clean up all the prep dishes, your meal's cleaned up.
And we're going to cook everything again. So,
In the airport.
now the last protein option, if you are truly a vegan and you want to have control over the added ingredients, because a lot of the time these plant-based products, I don't know if you can
Are
zoom
not
in.
vegan.
First of all, they're not vegan because they have
Nor
egg and milk. But look at the length of the ingredient list.
That's a little crazy.
So, TVP or texturized vegetable protein is just soy. It's just soy. So there's no added ingredients to it. And
What else do you use your TVB for?
if I'm doing like a meatloaf or meatballs,
Okay.
you can substitute it
Would you like half and half?
half and half.
Okay.
If you leave it dry, and you can see when it's dry, it has the consistency of breadcrumbs. So if you're trying to
I use it too.
decrease your carbs,
Yep.
or if you're trying to stay gluten free, it can be a breadcrumb substitution.
Right.
But once you rehydrate it, it becomes the consistency of ground meat. So
I like to add it to my meat sauce.
yes.
I use so I'll make like a faux meat sauce.
Yes.
And in our very first recipe, we did together as Healthy Fork, we did a magic meat sauce, and I believe I used ground turkey, but you can sub the TVP for the ground turkey.
So the nice thing is, because it's dry, you can keep it on your shelf, and then you just rehydrate it. Now,
I love that.
if you are truly vegan, meaning no animal products, you can rehydrate it. You would rehydrate it with vegetable stock. If you are eating more plants than animals for health reasons, you can use chicken stock.
Mhm.
Or if you're trying to create ground beef,
Right.
you could use beef stock.
Okay.
I found this. This is actually called No Chicken Broth, which is a vegan product, but it's made to taste like chicken.
I know, but it does sound
I
like
know.
oxymoron.
I know. So, and Lisa and I had a professional consultation about the ground turkey, because I am not personally a fan of ground turkey because I don't like the color of it.
It's a little grayer.
So, and we decided that we would cook it before we add it to the stuffing, because, as you can see in the pan, there's quite a bit of liquid from the ground turkey.
And we didn't want to make super soggy stuffing.
No! Soggy stuffing is the worst.
Oh, no.
Ugh. So, so rehydrating the vegetable protein is really your choice.
Yep.
A lot of times I will, because I'm not true vegan, I will use beef stock to make it taste like ground beef.
Oh, interesting.
So it depends on what I'm using it for.
Interesting.
So,
Okay, so then
drain this off.
yeah, and then we can add it to the big orange bowl, correct?
Yes.
Excellent.
Sorry. This is where you need tall people in your kitchen to help you with reaching the hard jars.
It didn't break.
It didn't break. It's the last thing we needed.
So when you're draining your ground meat, make sure you drain it into a glass jar, not a plastic jar. I also
Why is that, Mrs.
because it
Thompson?
will melt. It
Because
will
it's hot.
melt, right?
Yes.
So, and some people save this and use it to apply bird food to pine cones or something.
Oh,
crazy
yes,
like that.
yes. I've been known to do things like that.
So I'm just gonna set that aside.
Oh, fun project with your granddaughter.
Yeah. So instead of peanut butter, because if peanut allergies are a thing that you're being
Trying
careful,
to stay away from.
you can use the animal fat for. So the next thing because I like to include all the food groups that we're going to include in our stuffing.
So what food groups are in here already? We've got grain, we've got veg, we've got protein.
Yep. And
Now, what are we gonna?
now we're going to move on to fruit. So,
This is a really all-in-one meal, isn't it?
yes.
So
That's
great.
the
Here,
awesome part. Yeah.
I'll scooch over. Are we all done with this chopper?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
You don't need it for the apple?
Do you want to chop the apple? I was gonna leave the apple kind of big,
Okay.
but we can use the chopper.
Why?
You know what? Let's save it
Okay.
because we're gonna use it. So this is the apple. So we're
I love how you got right on top of the apple.
so this
We're vertically
it
challenged.
seems like it would be a really handy thing, but sometimes you have to do a little trimming. But if you have kids and you want to make a quick snack, you know, this cores your apple, and then you can just serve it to them like this.
You know, I usually just use a knife.
Okay. And cut it because you're not
Everybody.
because you're not
I'm not a
fancy.
fancy girl. And not everybody has a giant kitchen.
No, and not everyone has a chef's knife. Okay, I'm gonna tilt this sideways as you mix. Let's get rid of the stripper.
Please don't take that out of context, my friends.
So, but you know, having a really good knife is really key, and don't be afraid. You know, my mom uses a paring knife for everything, and I always say, you know, you're more likely to cut yourself with a dull knife or a small knife that you're trying to do a big job with than
I agree.
using, because this, if you do it right, like all
It's
the
almost
work
done.
is the knife. So just so
Right.
you can see, this is the TVP, the texturized vegetable protein, and to keep it vegan, we're gonna rehydrate it with some vegetable stock. So then it does become the consistency of
Ground meat.
ground meat. And then we have the chopped apples, which are going to add some color and some nutrition, some fruitiness to it,
Not to mention deliciousness and
Right?
love apple.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not a fan of celery or apples or whatever, mushrooms, most people have carrots in their house. I oftentimes will throw shredded carrots into my stuffing if I don't have the apples or the cranberries. But we're going to add some cranberries since it is Thanksgiving. Okay, and I'm going to show you. So the chopper is really handy with the cranberries because
I think this one's all you. I'm a little scared. What? Wow.
So the cranberries, when you leave them whole like this, they just stay whole in the stuffing, and then people don't necessarily want to get a whole bite of cranberry.
too sour.
So I chop them like this, whether I'm doing bread or anything to do with cranberries. And cranberries are very healthy when you eat cranberries. And here's my rule of thumb: if you get something in a bag like this or has no nutrition label, it's probably because it's good for you.
True.
Because you don't usually see fruits and vegetables, right? So just
With a sticker on them
with
with a
a
label.
sticker or a nutrition label. But
So here comes our cranberry comparison.
okay, so
Number one.
fresh cranberries. They even say superfruit on them. Yay! A half a cup of fresh cranberries, 25 calories, 0 added sugar. However, you probably don't want to eat these cranberries raw. They're very sour. So that is, are you looking? Oh,
I'm looking for the half cup.
is there not a half cup?
No, you have it in your hand.
No, that's a third and a quarter.
Oh.
That's a half
Oh,
cup.
so that's a half cup.
25 calories.
25 calories. What a bargain.
So again, when you add the cranberries to it, that kind of averages out the calories that you're getting from the bread and the meat and the protein and the all the other things that you're adding into it. So that makes it a great addition. So comparison wise, a lot of people think that craisins or dried cranberries
Are the same.
as raisins.
Silliness. So this is a cranberry. This is a grape.
Dried.
See the difference? Cranberry, grape.
But-
Awesome.
But grapes are sweet. So they
Cranberries
don't
are
add
sour.
they don't add anything. It's just, if you look at the raisin box, it just says grapes,
Mm-hmm.
right? If you look at the dried cranberry, and actually, I like the fact that this says dried sweetened cranberries. They don't always say that. But a lot of times they will label them as craisins, right? So a third of a cup,
Is
A
how
dried-
many calories.
a dried cranberries is 140 calories, and 2 tablespoons of added sugar.
That's insane.
So about a third of it is added sugar.
What?
Now-
Might as well just open up a bag of sugar and
Right.
dig in.
So you can find some that are less sugar. Of course, it says 50% less sugar, which seems great, except that means that instead of 2 spoonfuls of sugar
It's
in your
just
cup,
one.
it's just 1.
Which is still a lot.
And
But if you use sparingly and you're using it in a handful versus for a whole recipe,
right.
then ergo it's going to work itself out fine.
And
However-
this is something I'm not a fan of, but this is on many Thanksgiving tables. And it really grosses me out when people take it out of the can and it
And
still
they
has the
just-
ridges on it.
That's what I grew up with. You know what the ridges
It
are
looks-
for? The ridges
What?
tell you where to cut.
No.
And to cut little slices.
No.
Yes. Right, my chef friends? Right?
No.
Yes.
Yes. They're wider.
Write us and let us know what the ridges in the cranberry sauce are for.
It's because of the can. Okay, so a serving size of this jellied cranberry sauce is a 1/4 cup. So even smaller than a 1/3 cup. And it has 2 tablespoons of added sugar. So half of that cranberry sauce is sugar. Half. So I usually make my own cranberry sauce, and then that way I control the amount of sugar that I
And
add
it's
to the
so
cranberry.
easy. All you do is you take your cranberries, a little bit of water, maybe some citrus to
Yep.
bring out the tang, and add the amount of sugar you feel is your sweet variable.
And a lot of times I will add in raisins.
Really?
Yeah, because it sweetens it.
Into your cranberry sauce?
Yeah.
Really?
And nuts.
Whoa.
Right. And you can also add, we're not going to add nuts to this stuffing, but that's another way, especially if you're trying to have more plants than animals. Adding some nuts in there will add that protein. So
And we'll also add some extra fiber.
yeah, because fiber is great. You know
Well,
what?
and fiber's our friend.
And you know what I say? Fiber is the sponge of the GI tract.
Oh, yeah.
It's
That's a good
it scoops up the bad stuff and helps move it along. And ooh, I love how that looks. See then, if you just let it sit there for a minute, and it
It really
looks
does absorb
very
everything.
much like ground nut. But I think that's the fresh parsley.
Oh, yeah.
So this is the key. Again, if you use fresh herbs, number 1, there's no added salt. And number 2, you really get that smell that you wouldn't get necessarily from dry.
Again, haha, you can't smell.
The other thing, if you use just bread versus the seasoning mix, you can use this, and it has a little turkey on it. I think this says it's 150 years old. I
Not
like
the stuff in the box.
No.
Okay, the brand.
the
Okay.
recipe. The recipe,
Scared me.
all natural, been around for 150 years. So
Oh,
people have been adding this to their stuffing for 150 years.
wow.
What I love about this is there's no added salt. So
All just flavor.
if you use the breadcrumbs or the bread and you just add this, you have the same result of the mixed stuffing in terms of seasoning, but no salt. It has rosemary, oregano, sage, ginger, marjoram, thyme, and pepper.
Awesome.
Thank you.
No salt, no GMOs, and no gluten.
Nice.
Which brings me to the last point. If you're trying to make this gluten free and you can't find gluten free stuffing mix, you can make. A lot of people like cornbread stuffing, so you can make gluten free cornbread and just cube that up like we did the bread, or just get the sliced gluten free bread and slice that up. This is very expensive, so I'm not sure that people want to do that. But maybe if they don't eat the ends, they could. It's another purpose for the ends. So, and through the magic of TV,
Dun, dun, dun. This is our finished product. That looks beautiful. Thank you so much.
you're welcome. We can scoop that. Oh, shoot, Lisa.
What?
We forgot to add the chicken broth.
I was right. This does look a little dry.
Oh, yeah. I was...
Okay, wait a second. Should we add that in?
Yeah.
Okay.
Go for it.
The last step is to add
Some broth.
chicken stock to it, or like I said, if you're sticking vegetarian, you can use vegetarian stock. Always get stock versus broth, because
Why?
stock means that they actually boiled things to give you that flavor. So they boiled bones, they boiled vegetables, or whatever the case may be, to give you that flavor, versus broth, which is generally higher in sodium,
Oh, it's so salty.
and it just tastes like salty water
It
to
is.
me. Like,
It is. We don't like our salty water.
so here's the one. So you can use, this is my other favorite kitchen tool, commonly known as an ice cream scooper.
Oh, you use that for many things.
But here's what you do to make everyone happy at Thanksgiving. I make stuffing muffins. And you put them in the little muffin pans. And then this way, everyone gets their own crispy stuffing.
Oh, that's so sweet.
Yeah.
What a great idea.
So it's a way to have portion control, and it's a way for everyone to get the crispiness, because we all know the crispy top is the best part.
It is the best part. Yeah, and sometimes I pick it off before I serve it. That's okay. Don't come to my house for Thanksgiving.
I'm going to shut the airplane off now, Lisa.
Oh, I thank you.
Thank you. So we would do the same thing with these.
Okay.
So once these are cooked in there for a little while, then we're just going to turn them over and
Scoop out the inside.
and put the stuffing in the middle.
Oh, you don't even scoop the inside out.
No, you just put the stuffing on the top. This is like stuffed into
Into the cavity.
the extra
Into
large
the
cavity.
extra large hole. Don't be stuffing my hole, friend. I love you, but don't be stuffing my hole.
Yeah, so see, this is why I choose the acorn squash.
Oh.
So then you just take your stuffing,
It does have an extra large hole.
yeah, and you stuff it in there.
Nice.
And then you put it back into the oven to cook it for another 30 minutes at like 350, and you're ready to go.
Excellent.
And it's a one dish meal.
Excellent.
You have all of the ingredients, that you would have on your Thanksgiving table, but in one dish.
Excellent. So you can even probably use some shredded leftover stuffing from Thanksgiving. You can
Yeah.
use your shredded turkey from Thanksgiving, and then you can also make that into kind of a mixture and use that for your stuffing, and ergo another meal out of your Thanksgiving dinner. So thank you for joining us today. I hope you had as much fun as we did, and we will see you soon. Take care.
Bye.
Thank you, Teresa.
You're welcome.
So bright. You're healthy for kids, a fresh new start. Learning to nourish our bodies and our hearts. From the garden greens, grain so fine, Lisa shows.
Funding for Simsbury Community Television is provided in part by contributions from viewers like you. Thank you.